Item number 1, attendance. Is there any apologies, please, Mr Benny?
Yes, a single apology this evening from Councillor Lloyd Trong.
Thank you. We acknowledge the traditional owners of this land on which we are meeting tonight and pay our respects to their elders, spirit and ancestors. We also would like to acknowledge the deep history of the traditional owners and their connection to land, sea and culture across this country. Item number 1.3, offering of prayer. As part of Council's commitment to recognising the cultural and spiritual diversity of our community, the prayer this evening will be supplied by Agnes Keane from the Baha community of Greater Dandenong, a member of the Greater Dandenong Interfaith Network. Agnes, would you please? Please stand.
I just quickly want to say that it's wonderful to be here in person. And I think everybody that follows, that does the prayers or meditations will feel the same. So it's lovely to be here and to say hello to the Mayor and councillors, if it's appropriate, old and new. I'd like to offer this reflection on unity from the Baha'i writings. The unity which is productive of unlimited results is first a unity of mankind, which recognises that all are sheltered beneath the overshadowing glory of the All-Glorious, that all are servants of one God, for all breathe the same atmosphere, live upon the same earth, move between the same heavens, receive effulgence from the same sun, and are under the protection of one God. May I add here, this being the last council meeting for the year, and this time of the year, the message of Christ was that of peace and love to the world. May the true spirit of Christmas be upheld, not only by Christians, but by all, as we seek to live together in peace and goodwill. Best wishes are extended to all for the new year of 2021. Thank you.
Thank you. Please be seated. Item number 1.4, confirmation of minutes of previous meeting. Ordinary meeting of Council held the 30th of November 2020. I need a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Garrard and seconded by Councillor Lim. Is there any questions, councillors? Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, I declare this item carried. Item number 1.5, disclosures of interest. Mr Benny, please.
Mayor and councillors, there is a single disclosure this evening from Councillor Jim Meddy. It relates to item 4.3.4, Dandenong Market Proprietary Limited Director Roles. The type of interest is a direct material conflict of interest of a non-pecuniary nature. The nature of the interest is that I am the director of a company that has a stall at Dandenong Market. Councillor Meddy will be required to leave the chamber for this item.
Thank you, Mr Benny. Item number 2, 2.1, documents for sealing. I need a mover. Thanks, councillors. Moved by Councillor Formoso, second by Councillor Tan. Is there any questions, councillors?
I just want to...
Councillor Tan, yes?
Thanks. It's not a question, I just want to congratulate. There's a letter of recognition to Kate McManus, community service for 10 years of service to the City of Greater Dandenong. A letter of recognition to Damayanthi Suresh Kumar, corporate services for 10 years of service to the City of Greater Dandenong. A letter of recognition of to Aisling Bargan, community service for 10 years of service to the City of Greater Dandenong. A letter of recognition to Michael Beck, business engineering and major project services for 10 years for service to the City of Greater Dandenong. And lastly, a letter of recognition to Hoi Ya Yan, corporate services of 10 years, for 10 years services to the City of Greater Dandenong. Thank you.
Any other questions, councillors? Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, I declare this item carried. Item number 2.2, documents for tabling. I need a mover. Thanks, Councillor.
Happy to move that, Madam Mayor.
Moved by Councillor Mehmedi, second by Councillor Milkovich. Yep. Is there any I got it wrong. Is there any questions, councillors? Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, I declare this item carried. Item number 2.2.2, petitions and joint letters.
Happy to move it. Thanks.
Moved by Councillor Tan, seconded by Councillor Formoso.
Second that, Mayor.
Is there any questions, councillors? Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, I declare this item carried. Item number 2.3, statutory planning application. 2.3.1, town planning application number 72 to 74, Clearland Street, Dandenong. Planning application number PLN 20/0224. Moved by Councillor Dark, seconded by Councillor Milkovich. Is there any questions, councillors? Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, I declare this item carried. Item number 2.3.2, town planning application number 34, Kirkham Road, Dandenong. Planning application number PLN 18/0578. Moved by Councillor Mehmedi.
Happy to move that with a question, Madam Mayor.
With the question, seconded by Councillor Dark. Your question, Councillor Mehmedi.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As many of the councillors would know, we've received some objections regarding this application. We've actually spoken to some of the residents over the weekend, and I just wanted to know with this item, if it went to VCAT, how would this item stack up? Because I actually took some time out of my day today to go drive past the property and have a look at it and check the measurements, making sure that it actually meets all the guidelines and things like that. So I did say to the lady that lives next door that I would certainly be raising it. But if we can't do anything regarding the council policy and the council guidelines under the planning scheme, that there's really not much we can do. So through you, Madam Mayor, I just want to know through the planning director, what are our chances if this was to go to VCAT if it was refused?
Mr. Bosman, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through yourself to Councillor Mehmedi, the report shows, Councillor, that it's got a very high degree of compliance with the planning scheme, both in terms of what is commonly referred to as res code, as well as our neighbourhood character clause within the scheme, clause 29. And there are no real issues where we are compromising on those standards or objectives within the scheme. So the short answer is that if it went to VCAT, if it was objected, I do believe that the recommendation of the officers would be carried at VCAT.
Thank you, Mr. Bosman. Is there any other questions, councillors? Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, I declare this item carried. Item number 2.3.3, town planning application number 66 to 88 and 98 to 100 and 168 to 222 Clark Road, Springvale South. Planning application number OTH 20/0013. I need a mover. Thanks, councillors. Moved by Councillor O'Reilly, seconded by Councillor Forster. Sorry. Is there any questions, councillors? Yes, Councillor O'Reilly.
Thank you, Mayor. Question to the Director, because this report takes quite a bit of reading and understanding, and I've had some contact with from local residents on this. This is the solar farm application in Springvale South. Just questions to the director is it true that the solar farm application will now be decided at VCAT level, so it's out of council's hands? And secondly, is the recommendation to defend clause 6 the best thing that council can do to try to maintain that the land will be used for recreation now or in the future? Thank you, Mayor.
Mr Bosman, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through yourself to Councillor O'Reilly. Councillor, the answer to the first question is yes, the application will be determined by VCAT, but it's not. That doesn't mean that this council no longer has a role to play. We have to form a position that we take and present to VCAT. So council still needs to resolve what its position is on the development, on the proposed development, and put that position to VCAT. But the ultimate decision will be taken by VCAT. Your second question as to whether defending clause 6 is the best way of ensuring that we maintain some open space provision or the improvement of that open space in terms of the chain of parks, and the answer is yes. And that's why one of the reasons why we are defending it. We believe that we have sufficient, notwithstanding that the document itself, as the report outlines, cannot be found, there's sufficient reference to the document and other documents for us to be able to draw a conclusion as to what was intended from that document. And by defending it at VCAT, we'd be able to implement those provisions for the improvement and the maintenance of the chain of parks policy. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Bosman. Councillor O'Reilly, any other questions? Is there any questions from councillors? Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, I declare this item carried. Item number 2.3.4, Town Planning Application number 12, Wirralda Court, Springvale South, Planning Application number PLN 19/0623. I need a mover,
Happy
please.
to move, Mayor.
Moved by Councillor
I'll second
Dark,
that.
seconded by Councillor Milkovich. Is there any questions, councillors? Yes, councillor.
My apologies, Madam Mayor. I'd like to say that this particular application, I looked at the plans. I think the planning department should maybe take this particular plan into consideration, because I think it's a really good model how the parking arrangements have been sorted out, with providing 2 parking spaces in the view of double garage versus a single garage and a parking spot, which seems to be the sort of, most of the applications that I think it's beneficial. It's beneficial for the parking arrangements. It's beneficial for the privacy, and I think
So it's a comment rather than a question?
Comment, yeah, sorry, I did say.
That's all right.
I'd just like to say that I think we should consider this as a future model for planning permits. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, I declare this item carried. Item number 3, question time public. Thanks, Mr Benny.
Mayor and councillors, the first question this evening is from Tina Congus of Dandenong. I read in the minutes of the last council meeting that I'm sorry. Tina is elected to ask her own question. My apologies.
Thank you,
You're
Tina.
welcome. Welcome back, everybody. I read in the minutes of the last council meeting that the consultation on the concept design for the Dandenong Community Hub would be next April, but also that a consultant had not yet been appointed. Given that the concept design was approved in the budget in June, why hasn't a consultant been approved after now 6 months?
Thank you, Mr Benny. Thank you, Tina.
Thank you for the question, Tina, and in response I can advise that and rather naturally speaking, 2020 has been a very challenging year for the council in a whole range of ways. Council has previously and recently confirmed its commitment to a Dandenong hub, and as far as I'm concerned and aware, council maintains a commitment to deliver on that at the appropriate time into the future. But 2020, of course, has been impacted council's revenues significantly through the coronavirus. We've also had the planned event of being the municipal election, the caretaker period, and the time required to elect and induct a new council. With all that's before the council at the moment, including their induction and their comprehension and understanding of the many projects, including the Dandenong Hub and other things that are on the Capital Works program, councillors will need time to consider all of these things, and normally this would be done in February of the following year when a strategic planning workshop will be undertaken. And at that particular time, all of the projects that are currently in the mix in terms of aspirations and commitments from the council but are naturally impacted by the reduced revenues of council will be reviewed. This is a matter, as far as I'm concerned, being one of timing, not a matter of if, certainly a matter of when. So once council has reviewed this in February or March of 2021, the community that we know is very interested in the progress of this project will all be informed accordingly.
Thank you, Mr. Benny.
The next question is from Khalid Ali, who also asked to ask his own question, but he doesn't seem to be present, so I'll do it on his behalf. He is from Noble Park. I can't find any update on the council website with how the saving of the open space with the 24 River Red Gums in Yerraman Village is going. What is the current status and can it be put on the website? Mr. Bosman can respond, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Bosman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. To Mr. Ali, the council is seeking to negotiate a commercial outcome with the developer, and it would be inappropriate to broadcast any aspect of that while the parties are still in negotiation and were engaged in this process. Once those negotiations have concluded, council's website can be updated, and I'll obviously do that as soon as possible.
Thank you, Mr. Bosman. Mr. Benny, please.
The next question is from Matthew Kerwin of Noble Park. What is the status of the East Link to Dandenong Jeering Trail extension concept design that has been prepared by council, including consultation with the general public and advocacy, both already undertaken and planned? Mr. Bosman could respond.
Mr. Bosman, please.
Madam Mayor, thank you. To Mr. Kerwin, council has completed a feasibility study looking at a range of options for the extension of the Jeering Trail. Consultation with cycling groups was undertaken alongside this study. Officers have been in discussion with the Department of Transport around the proposal, who are supportive of a proposed route which runs through Greaves Reserve as far as Bennett Street and then along the south side of Railway Parade. We are now advocating for Victorian government funding for delivery of the trail. There are a number of potential funding streams, but due to the relatively high cost, it is unclear how likely these are to be successful. If current potential funding sources are unsuccessful, additional advocacy will be recommended to council prior to the next state election. Once funding is secured, a final design involving consultation with nearby properties would be undertaken. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Bosman. Mr. Benny, please.
Next question is also from Matthew Kerwin of Noble Park. What is the status and expected completion dates of the remaining aspects of the Hemming Street upgrade works, namely the public art sculpture and mural and the Hemming Street car park trees and pocket park? Mr. Kearsley could respond.
Mr. Kearsley, please.
I'd like to thank the resident for the question, and through you, Madam Mayor, with regards to the first component. The public art installation works at Hemming Street is anticipated to be completed in early 2021. The suite of offerings will include a collection of sculptural totems, which are currently being fabricated by a local manufacturer. This will also be supported by a mural component. The works will commence and be completed during the first school term of the calendar year to best integrate opportunities for local school children to engage with the process. With regards to the second part of the question, Hemming Street car park trees and pocket park is currently in detailed design. with the works aiming to commence in April and to be completed by the end of this financial year. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Keasley. Mr Benny, please.
The next question is from Gai Guest of Keysborough. In 2016, a sitting councillor moved the proposal for a 7-unit development on the corner of Corrigan and Noble Street, a busy intersection at any time, but with the work vehicles parked on the corner daily now, plus resident vehicles parked along Corrigan Road from that corner on both sides. Bin days in particular have become maniac in peak hour traffic. Is Council going to talk to relevant authorities now and discourage on-street parking now, as the units, although half finished, already up for sale? This is just one example of the poor planning policies that always protect the developer against the resident wishes and objections. Why have 7 units been allowed to be built on such a cramped block with a power pole and telephone box in front of the tiny boxes and even smaller garages with no setbacks or green open space? Will Council be proactive now and put measures in place rather than wait till the units are tenanted and adding to the unnecessary congestion on this corner when residents will need to take serious action to get results? Mr Bosman, Madam Mayor.
Mr Bosman, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through yourself to Ms Guest, I note Ms Guest's criticisms of the development at the corner of Corrigan Road and Noble Street. As previously advised, the development has complied with the necessary standards for the approval of a permit. Ms Guest raised concerns of traffic issues, especially during peak hour and on bin collection days, and I shall pass these concerns on to my colleagues in traffic engineering for their consideration. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Bosman. Mr Benny, please.
Yes, the final question this evening is from Nick Sheridan of Springvale. In September this year, the Council passed a motion that Council write to the Minister of Transport seeking a meeting regarding the activation of and potential public rail improvements to the area of central Springvale facing Springvale Railway Station, bordered by Springvale Road, Queen's Avenue and the railway line. Now that council elections have passed and all councillors are settled in their positions, I ask that 1, Council writes to the Minister of Transport Infrastructure seeking a meeting regarding the activation of and potential public realm improvements to the area of central Springvale facing Springvale Railway Station, bordered by Springvale Road, Queen's Avenue and the railway line, and 2, a copy of the letter be sent to the State MP for Clarinda, State MP for Keysborough and State MP for Mulgrave and Upper House members for the South Eastern Metropolitan Region seeking their support. Mr Keasley could respond, Madam.
Mr Keasley, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I thank Mr Sheridan for the question. We actually did write to the relevant minister and we got a response. The response advised us to undertake further discussion and meetings with both VicTrack and Metro Trains. It's our understanding that the land is under the control of VicTrack and they're currently liaising with an opportunity for Metro Trains to perhaps take a role in undertaking not ownership but certainly administration of that land. It's our intention to contact both authorities and seek a meeting with them in the coming weeks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Keasley. Mr Benny.
Mayor and councillors, there were 15 public questions taken on notice at the last council meeting. I would add that the majority of those questions were on notice because they exceeded the governance rules limit of the allowable number of questions at any particular meeting. But all of those questions, including those in excess of those allowed under the governance rules, have been answered and are tabled this evening.
Thank you, Mr Benny. Item number 4, Officers' Report Part 2, 4.1 Contracts, 4.1.1 Contract Number 2021-06 Litter Collection, Hand Weeding, Park and Street Furniture Cleaning Services.
Happy to move, Mayor.
Moved by Councillor Dark, seconded by Councillor Milkovich. Is there any questions, councillors?
Yes, I've got a question.
Yes, Councillor Tan.
Just on the summary page, so the amount on the summary page and the actual recommendation on page 304 is completely different. Could the relevant officer please explain?
What would you say? Sorry,
So
Councillor
page,
Tan?
the summary page, which is 297, and the recommendation page 304, the amount is different.
The amounts are different, is that correct, Miss Councillor Tan? Who's doing the contract, John?
Well, Madam Mayor, I need to look at that a bit more closely, but the resolution page, the recommendation page would be the correct number as far as I'm concerned. It's the resolution of council that is binding, but I can't explain at this stage why the summary within the report is different to the recommendation.
Madam Mayor, if I can just help there for a second. I think on page 304 it says 445,000 plus the GST of 40,000. On page 297 I think it says 475 including GST.
Including.
So I think that might match.
Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Mamedi.
Thank you.
All right.
No, it seems to be discrepancy. Is there?
Maybe we can have that fixed up and take that bit on notice. Mr. Jench?
Can we just have a look at that?
Yeah, just through the chair, look, I would agree with the CEO. Look, it looks like the figures on the summary sheet have been
Please.
transposed, so I would imagine the recommendation is the correct figure. So I'd be comfortable with council moving the recommendation, and we can certainly clarify the summary sheet discrepancy tomorrow.
So I've got a mover and I've got a seconder. Is there any other questions, councillors? Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, I declare this item carried. Item
Mayor,
number...
just if I could.
Sorry, Councillor Dark. Yes, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, I just wish to thank the council for supporting this contract number. Waverley Industries is an organisation which this council has had a long history with. They employ people with disability and mental impairment and get them back into the workforce. They have done a lot of work and done a very good job over this council over the years that I've certainly served. The benefit is that they are just one of, I think, Victoria's biggest employer of people and as a social enterprise of people with disability. They're committing to employ 4 full-time staff and 1 part-time in the administrative side. And then from that as well, they're looking at hiring further people to service the facilities what we have. So it's good to see that this council is supporting people getting into the workforce who suffer from a disability who otherwise wouldn't be able to get in.
Thank you, Councillor Dark. Item number 4.2, Finance and Budget. 4.2.1, Mid-Year Budget Review 2020 to 2021. Moved by Councillor Garrard, seconded by Councillor Tan. Is there any questions, councillors?
Madam Mayor,
Yes,
my question will
Councillor
be
Mamedi.
to the relevant officer, if he can give us a bit of an overview of this mid-year budget review.
Start, Matthew.
Yes. Through you, Madam Mayor, it's obviously a large document. It's an unusual process for this year. This is the first time, councillors, that we've actually come to mid-year with a deficit, where councillors had to actually amend the mid-year budget to actually finish the year on track. So as the report highlights, we actually have a projected deficit of $3.96 million. And this report recommends that we defer capital works of $4.40 million, leaving a small COVID contingency fund of $434,000. So quite a different mid-year budget that we've done in the past. And certainly I would congratulate council on making the decisions so we can finish the year with a balanced budget.
Thank you, Mr. Jench. Yes,
Thank you,
Councillor
Madam Mayor,
Mamedi.
and thank you to Mr. Jench. I also note that item 3 says for those projects in attachment D, other than the asset renewal programs, council endorses a position that these deferred projects will be considered a priority in the consideration of the 21-22 annual budget. By saying considered priority, does that mean they're in, or they could possibly be in, or it's considered? Considered to me sounds like it's got to be going up against the other CIP bids in 21-22.
Mr. Jench,
Through
please.
you, Madam Mayor, what it means is Office will recommend their inclusion in the draft Capital Works program. We can't confirm the budget, only council can confirm the budget. But what we will do is we undertake that the officers will recommend their inclusion in the budget that we bring to you.
Thank you, Mr. Jench.
Saying that it will come with a highly recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Mamedi. Any other questions? No. Any opposition? No. I declare this item carried. Item number 4.3, other. 4.3.1, naming of Thomas Carroll Reserve Pavilion. Moved by
Move that, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Mamedi, seconded by Councillor Lim. Sorry. Is there any questions, councillors? No. Is there any opposition? A question?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
through you, Madam Mayor. Can we have, I know it's in the report, but for people at home listening, who is W.J. Crowe?
Mr. Fiddler, is that you?
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
Oops. On his arrival in the early 1960s, Bill Crowe accepted the role of president with St Mary's Club. He offered excellent guidance to the club in developing senior and junior teams, which provided opportunities for many Dandenong residents to become involved in sport. He instilled a sense of inclusion, fair play and respect. In 1976, Bill was elected life member of the club, and in 1978 was made a life member of the DDCA, where he was St Mary's delegate before being elected to the DDCA Board of Management. So he is a well-respected and well-known identity in Greater Dandenong. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Is there any other questions, councillors? Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, I declare this item carried. Item number 4.3.2, draft minutes of the Multicultural and People Seeking Asylum Advisory Committee meeting, the 6th of October 2020. Moved by Councillor Foster, seconded by Councillor Formoso. Is there any questions, councillors? Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, I declare this item carried. Item number 4.3.3, response to notice of motion number 90, changing local law to allow the lighting of chimneys and other controlled fire pits on your property. Moved by Councillor O'Reilly, seconded by Councillor Lim. Is there any questions, councillors? Councillor O'Reilly. Oh, Councillor Mamedi.
Right. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just what's the difference to the local law we had before this one? What's the difference?
Mr. Bosman, please.
Madam Mayor, through yourself, the local law that's in existence at the moment has, these provisions have been in for a number of decades, Councillor, and so the local law is now up for review. It's a statutory requirement to review the local law. That'll take place next year, and all that the report is actually saying is that as part of that review, we go to the community and we consider the proposal as to whether or not the local law that is in place at the moment includes a provision that would allow for the lighting of chimneys and fire pits, the kind of accessory or the kind of unit that one would see as part of the entertainment area within somebody's backyard or within somebody's residential premises. So the difference would be that if we do amend the local law, where currently, strictly speaking, those open flames are not allowed as part of that entertainment apparatus. Barbecues are, but these are not. The difference would be that there would be a specific accommodation within the local law to allow for chimneys and fire pits, provided that they are used not for burn-offs, but again, we'd need to go to the community and get the community's view on this. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor O'Reilly.
Thank you, Mayor. Question to the Director on the operation of the current local law regarding chimneys. Is that the way you pronounce it? I hardly heard of them before that. Director, is it true that currently there's a common sense approach to enforcement of this, and officers are not raiding properties if they have like an open flame. That's the first question. Secondly, question to the Director is, if we did change the local law to be more prescriptive as to what is allowed and what isn't allowed as far as the size of the chimney or the amount of open flames, then enforcement in the rare number of cases that it would need to be enforced would be much more problematic and difficult. Last question to the Director is, do these sorts of the sort of application of these local laws should take very much into account how they are enforced in a common sense and practical fashion? Thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Bosman, please.
Madam Mayor, thank you through yourself. Councillor, your first and third question, in fact, are related. Unfortunately, my officers, one of the requirements is that they have to have common sense. So and from that common sense point of view, notwithstanding that we've got this provision within our existing local law, never over all the years of its existence have we actually gone out and enforced a provision that says you can't have your open pit, your fire, where you've been, to quote one of the councillors, toasting your marshmallows. So we've taken a common sense approach to it, and we'll continue to do so. Even if the local law then is ultimately changed, we'll still take a common sense approach to it all. It's always easier to impose something where it's black and white. The answer is yes, you can, and no, you can't. But I don't foresee any real difficulty if we do change it to allow for the accommodation of chimeneas and fire pits. We've been approaching it from that common sense point of view anyway, and we'll just continue to do so. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Bosman. Councillor, you finished, Councillor, already? Councillor Garrett?
Madam Mayor, I just want to confirm that the review, the consideration of the review will come back to Council for consideration before it is approved.
Mr. Bosman, please.
Madam Mayor, yes, through yourself, Madam Mayor, Councillor, before it goes out to community consultation, there are going to be workshops with the councillors so that the document that we actually put out into the community will have been workshopped with you first. Whatever comes back through that community consultation process will also then come back after it's been analysed and assessed by officers. It will come back to councillors for councillors to then take a decision. It's a very detailed and rigorous process, and I think it's actually alluded to in this report. We actually have to do an assessment as to the impact on resources, amongst other things. So all of that will form part of the reports that come back to council.
Thank you, Mr. Bosman. Councillor Milkovich, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just wanted to ask the relevant department, if the law is passed and changed in that regard, would the public be made aware of the restrictions as to what they can actually burn within the fire pits or chimneys? So obviously they don't burn stuff like car tyres, that sort of stuff where that would impact the environment and obviously a comfortable living next door and so on and so forth. Thank you.
Mr. Bosman, please.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Yes, Councillor Milkovich, obviously the local law is designed to protect amenity, neighbourhood amenity or residential amenity. And even if there is a change, if at the end of the day there is a change to the local law to accommodate chimeneas and fire pits, there will almost certainly be words that will talk about and control what kind of materials, what kind of fuel can be burned in them. Even at the moment, the local law prohibits burning of certain materials, and I would imagine that those same materials or fuels will be carried across into not being allowed to be burnt in 20 years fire because of the obvious annoyance and health reasons that it might hold.
Thank you, Mr. Bosman. So I've got a mover and a seconder. Is there any other questions, councillors? Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, I declare this item carried. Item number 4.3.4, Dandenong Market Proprietary Limited.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to declare interest. It's a direct material conflict of interest of non-procurement in nature, that I'm a director of a company that has a stall at the Dandenong Market.
Thank you, Councillor Mehmedi. Item number 4.3.4, Dandenong Market Proprietary Limited, Director's Roles.
Move, Mayor.
Moved by Councillor Dark and seconded by Councillor Milkovich. Is there any questions, councillors? Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, I declare this item carried. Can we have Councillor Mehmedi? Oh, sorry. Councillor Dark, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, I just wish to thank my colleagues for the appointment of the Board of Directors to the Dandenong Market, or DMPL Board. It's been no surprise, I think, to the majority of councillors that it's been a turbulent almost 12 months now since a whole lot of things occurred with the DMPL Board, including integrity, governance reviews, resignation and appointments of directors. But we are actually now getting to a stage where we are getting a very exciting time. Mr Cocaine has served as the interim chair for the last 6 months and has done an exemplary job, particularly given his role as one of the managing directors of a very large retail group. To be able to take that out of his way to do that has been a very good way to ensure that there's stability on the board. Further, I'm aware that he does donate his director's salary to the Springvale South Cricket Club, and that's always another really good accomplishment to show that it's not about the money but about the willingness of the DMPL board. Ms Donna McMaster has been, will be appointed, I suppose, as the interim chair commencing from March 2021. Donna McMaster has served the DMPL board for the last few years very, very well. She often in the DMPL board meetings gives a very good contribution to the operations of the market and providing some strategic advice. Her background being the deputy chair of YMCA, she's currently a director on the ASX 200 Gale Pacific, which is a very large manufacturer which actually has a substantial base in the city of Greater Dandenong and Dandenong South, and she was managing director of Savers op shops for quite a few years as well. So she comes with quite a large history. And finally, to appoint Mr Jerome Gowder as a director of the DMPL board. Now, Jerome, Mr Gowder was previously a director of the DMPL board before my time. He resigned to take up his role as the State General Manager of Victoria and Tasmania for Dan Murphy's, everyone's favourite retailer. And then he went on to take over New South Wales and the ACT. And before that was a Managing Director of the Calendar Club. And then before that, Red Group Retail, which was actually the company that owned Angus and Robertson and a couple of bookstores. So he does have a strong retail history, which is what we need in the market to ensure as we come out of COVID and the rents return back to normal, we're able to attract as many customers as possible. And there are some very exciting times, particularly with the closure of the Caribbean Gardens market. And I'm looking forward to this board coming together and hopefully being a very good board for the next 12 months.
Thank you, Councillor Dark. Now, can we have Councillor Mehmedi back in the chamber, please? Item number 4.3.5, report on matters discussed at council briefing sessions and pre-council meetings.
Happy to move, Mayor.
Hang on, I haven't finished. I know we want to get out early, but I've got 23rd and 30th of November and the 7th of December 2020. Moved by Councillor Dark, seconded by Councillor Mehmedi. Is there any questions, councillors? Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, I declare this item carried. Item number 4.3.6, list of registered correspondence to Mayor and councillors. Moved by...
Happy to move it.
Councillor Tan, seconded by Councillor Formoso.
Happy to second that, Mayor.
Pardon? Yep.
Happy to second that.
Yep. Is there any questions, councillors? Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, I declare this item carried. Item number 4.3.7, Interfaith network options.
Madam Mayor, I wish to pass an alternate motion.
Councillor Garrard, yes, please. Could you please read your alternate, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Number one, that the Council extends the current funding of the Interfaith Network of the City of Greater Dandenong to 28 February 2021 at a cost of $23,729. And point two, that the proposed contract come to a council meeting for discussion, for a decision after first coming to a councillor briefing session for discussion regarding the strategic approach requirements, key performance indicators and length and costs.
Moved by Councillor Garrard, the alternate, and seconded by Councillor Mehmedi. Is there any questions, councillors? Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, I declare this item carried. Yes, Councillor Garrard.
Can I just provide, Madam Mayor, just provide some context? I'd just like to congratulate the Council for the hard work that they've done in developing the contract for the Interfaith Network, and it's great to see that the KPIs and objectives and the vision for the network have been, so much work has gone into that, but with discussions with the some members from the Interfaith Network, that there are some unresolved issues that still require some discussion.
Not a problem, thank you. Yes, Councillor O'Reilly, please.
Thank you, Mayor. If I could also say that I'm sure councillors would agree with me that while we are the administrative part of the municipality, the Interfaith Network is the heart and spirit of Greater Dandenong. And it's for that reason that while we absolutely 100% support the Interfaith Network as being, I believe, the oldest or the first interfaith network in Victoria, in Australia. In Australia. Thank you, Councillor Mehmedi and Mayor, on that. We want to make sure that the Interfaith Network has a strong, sustainable and growing base going forward, and it's for that reason I believe that Councillor Garrard has moved this motion to make sure that we get all the detail right before we make a decision on it at Council. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Item number 4.3.8, Springvale Community Hub Committee membership endorsements. Councillor Lim, moved by Councillor Lim, seconded by Councillor O'Reilly. Is there any questions, councillors? Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, I declare this item carried. Yes, Councillor O'Reilly.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, this motion puts in place, in some ways, the final piece of the Springvale Community Hub. Mayor, I think good things take time. Great things can take even longer. It's been a bleak year, but at the end of it, we've had the birth of the Springvale Community Hub, not to mention brand spanking new modern library. And this whole project has been the council's vision going back 10 years. I remember going in the old library and like everything was used. You had students at desks, and basically you had to book in to get a desk because there wasn't any free. So with the new library, we'll have more students studying, more community groups meeting and enhancing the social fabric, more library users, and I expect, Mayor, that we'll actually get library users come to Springvale as a destination to go to a library. That's why the huge Springvale letters out the front are quite apt. I think that councillors and Mayor, what we'll see over time is that this facility will be the preeminent community facility in southeast Melbourne. So the decision tonight, I congratulate the council because what we've said is that while we have a magnificent building, what's more important is the people in it and the community spirit within the four walls, although there's quite a few more than four. So thanks to council for that, and I can't wait, as a local resident myself, I can't wait to see this facility being used in all its glory and to go forward in leaps and bounds. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor O'Reilly.
Mick, if
Yes,
I can just say
Councillor
something, I think Councillor O'Reilly covered a whole lot of the topics, but I'm just going to congratulate the 8 candidates who are on this committee. I'm looking at the names, and I do recognise a few who have contributed to many different parts of our community, and I think the community group is in good hands with these 8 residents. So I'd like to congratulate them and wish them well.
Thank you, Councillor Mamedi. Item number 5, notices of motion. I don't think we've got any tonight. So we go on to item number 6, reports from councillors, delegates and councillors' questions. We'll start with Councillor Dark, please.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Mayor, I only have one question this evening. I've received some correspondence from a resident in my ward with regards to the old Scout Hall at the Raleigh Allen Reserve. I've become aware that there is some tinted glass that has been there for quite some time at one end of the building, and the tinted glass actually has some significance to the Scouts Association. I am aware that the Springvale South Scouts have expressed interest in being able to ascertain that stained glass window upon demolition of the Scout Hall. I was just wondering to the relevant director whether we could potentially make that an opportunity for them to be able to collect that stained glass portion.
Mr. Keasley, this one? Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Keasley.
Madam Mayor. Certainly, Councillor, I think if you send me those details, we could certainly look at that and have communication with the Scouts in terms of taking that particular material.
Thank you, Mr. Keasley. Councillor Dark? No, Councillor Milkovich?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First, I'd like to say I've gone and done a tour of our library in Dandenong, which I haven't done in quite a while. And I've got to say, I was actually very, very impressed by the selection of books, not just in English, but in all other nationalities and backgrounds. It was really an eye-opener. And the guys that work in the library, I really got to congratulate them on their efforts to actually sourcing these books throughout the COVID crisis. It certainly obviously is going to help our residents in the future. The selection of DVDs also was very, very impressive. I've signed up again for the library, which I haven't done in a number of years. The process was seamless. They were very nice. Congratulations to those guys in these tough times. So good on them. Question that I've got is that keeps coming up in my mind all the time, and I had a quick chat the other day with the Councillor Mamedi in that regard, is that after talking to quite a few number of businesses on Lonsdale Street, it seems to be a recurring question, is that when are we going to get more parking? So I'm thinking in a new year, it could be a potentially topic that we should discuss to see if we can change the course of action in regards to this, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Milkovich. Councillor Lim?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. To me, every day at Springvale Shopping Centre, especially around about Buckingham Avenue and Balmoral Avenue, there's some issue on the regular basis on every day, especially like maybe Mr. Paul Kersley, and also that time is Mr. Bosman as well. You're aware of that, how difficult it is that roundabout, and especially the pedestrian always have arguing always with the driver. Yeah, they tend to scream at each other. If we can fix that roundabout as soon as possible by either make it as a zebra crossing or maybe put a traffic light, something like that, probably would be very useful and very helpful, because people keep complaining to me on a daily basis for that roundabout. And not just that, also another roundabout as well, Buckingham Avenue and other Balmoral Avenue and St. John Avenue, and that's some issue because of the tree grow a bit taller, a bit hard for people to see the car turn left or roundabout. On the roundabout, they can't see the indicator which way the car going to. And the next one is Royal Avenue and also Balmoral Avenue as well. That one is, we don't have any roundabout, and a lot of people keep asking me to put the roundabout as soon as possible, because accident happen quite often from time to time. Yeah, thank you. Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Lim. Does Mr. Keeley want to answer some of his questions?
certainly.
Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor. As we inspected Springvale, had a tour around Springvale with you on Friday, and you pointed out a number of these matters. With regards to the roundabout, I think we're looking at the opportunity to add some pedestrian crossings into those to at least highlight to the car users that there are pedestrians in the area. Balance we have to make is that I believe the traffic rules are that the cars have right of way on roundabouts, so that's something we do have to be mindful of. But as we discussed on Friday, we've noted all of your issues and we will respond to you in the coming weeks or early in the new year.
Thank you, Mr. Keeley.
Thank you. Just like to add some more. I just would like to thank you so much for Mr. Pursley and his team, and also Mr. Bosman and his team as well, that joined me last Friday with other business owner, and very, very useful. And the business owner very, very happy to see both of you and the team come along. And not just that, also thank you to Mr. John Benny and Mayor Angela Long, that when on the tour of Springvale Community Hub, is a it is a world-class community hub that I very, very surprised and exciting to see this hub being opening to the public, and a lot of good feedback from my customer and my people that live around Springvale Central. They so happy, and especially the library is just world-class library. Thank you so much for your for my opportunity to join you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lim. Councillor Tan, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Sorry, I missed my previous council meeting, so this is my reports. On the 25th of November, I attended the Wasa Week, which is the Vietnamese Australian Seniors Association of Victoria. The annual meeting via Zoom with the Mayor, yourself, Councillor Angela Long. 26th of November, I attended the councillor induction. 27th of November, attended the MAW Council Induction Day 1 by Zoom meeting. We've done a lot of Zoom meeting this year due to COVID restriction. 28th of November, attended the Councillor Strategic Workshop Part 1. 29th of November, I attended the CAW Cambodian Association of Victoria 35th Annual General Meeting. I just want to congratulate the Vietnamese and the Cambodian done a great job for over 35 years. On the 3rd of December, I attended the MAW Council Induction Day 2. The 7th of December was a privilege. We had a ribbon cutting with the Mayor, Councillor Angela Long, also Councillor Richard Lim. So we're opening our local park, which is one of the biggest amazing park at 86 to 88 Cloud Street, Dandenong, which is present for, pretty much like for Christmas. So anyone can around living around the area can at least, you can spend time, picnic or run around. It's a big place there, which is a great park. So that's my report. So my questions, I've got a few questions today. So the first question, just regarding to an update on the Activities Centre Strategic Plan, Noble Park, Douglas Streetscape. So I know it's one of the project that's been deferred on the mid-year budget. So I just want to get an update from the relevant officer. Thanks.
Mr. Keeley, please.
Thank you, Councillor. Through you, Mayor. At this point in time, as per the report that was adopted by Council tonight, that project has been delayed. All intentions are to put a report up within the next couple of months, appointing a contractor in order that we can then get works underway as of adoption of the new budget in hopefully around July, August. So we're currently weighing up at what point in time we put the report up to appoint the contractor, but we're intending, subject to Council adopting the budget for 21-22, that we will be underway very quickly.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Keeley.
you.
Councillor Tran.
Thank you, Paul. Is that including the traffic projects that we've got around Ian and Douglas Street? Managed?
Yes, it is, Councillor. It would include that the traffic light and the new pedestrian crossing, correct?
Okay. Last one I want to just to add about that project. So regarding to the roundabout at the Hedderton Road and Douglas Street, I know it's part of the Noble Park Tracker Plan, but can we write a letter to the Minister of Transport to speed up the process.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Councillor, we will have to take that on notice. I have to see at what stage we're at with any discussions with Department of Transport. Our understanding is that they're not keen or not interested in the removal of that roundabout at this time. But as I said, I'll need to take that on notice. And if DOT don't give us the necessary satisfaction, then yes, I would recommend that we then write.
Thank you, Mr. Peasley. Councillor Tander.
Thank you. Just last question regarding to a Maralinga Community Garden. So I just want to congratulate Brian Hunter and his team. I've got a few emails from Gagers just regarding to community consultation. So that will be starting soon. I just want to get an update from the relevant officer. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Fiddler.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. We've been in contact with Mr. Hunter and the committee. I believe Gay is one of the members of that committee. Those consultations will be starting this week and into next week, and they'll be ongoing. There's no impact by the summer holidays, the Christmas holidays, so those consultations can continue. So they're commencing this week. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Mehmedi, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Following up from opening the park in Clough Street, which is 8688, is that how we're going to know this park? My question is, are we going to have a consultation with the community to name this park? I don't want it to be called 8688 Clough Street Park. That's one question. And the second one, there's a gate that's about 3 metres open. No one knows that this park is open. I drive past maybe once or twice a day. The park looks fantastic. I want it to be full. How can we engage with our community through you, Madam Mayor, to be able to let people know that this park is open and that people can actually walk in? And what are we going to do with this park? Can we have like a section, like a community garden or something like that? So what I'm suggesting is we need to name this park and consult with the community what we're going to open it for, and how do we let people know that it is open and they can actually go and use it.
Thank you, Councillor Mehmedi. Mr. Benny, please.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I think if there's any implied criticisms in that, I think it's a bit unfair. I mean, Council only settled on the property not that long ago, and we settled during a peak of a COVID epidemic, or the pandemic. So staff have done their best to make the site safe for the surrounding residents and to open the site to the community at the earliest possible time. So all of the things that you suggest are things that we would intend to do, but it has not been possible in the period that we've been through to do all of that. So Mr. Jench's team will be following appropriate steps to review naming, and Mr. Peasley and Mr. Bosman will be looking at further enhancement that can be made to the identification of the site, perhaps gating and fencing. It is a site that is worthy of the highest level of both access and protection. And if we do open the entire front of the site, I fear that there could be inadequate after hours, inappropriate after hours access that could ruin some of the significant vegetation. So we've been, I think, rightly careful about the access. Having said that, we've got to find that balance between getting as many people to know about it and access it, but also protect the natural asset.
Thank you, Mr. Benny. I didn't take it wasn't a criticism. It was just saying that what's next? You know, we open this park. How do we get best use for the community? So it was just making sure that it's straight and centre, that we don't forget about it for a few months. Let's get on it and let's do it quickly. So that's what it was all about. There was a serious accident last week on the corner of Dandenong Frankston Road and Hammond Road. There was 3 or 4 cars smashed from each direction. This intersection is very confusing. It has a bus lane which doesn't have any lights on Hammond Road. It has lights on the Dandenong Frankston Road. I reckon we've probably written 2 or 3 letters over the years to Vic Roads, but I strongly would suggest through you, Madam Mayor, that we do write this letter to them again. And it is a very dangerous intersection. I'm not sure why they don't agree with us to put traffic lights at the Hammond Road area, but we seriously need to write to them again, because I've got a photo. There's 4 cars piled up. One was coming from Dandenong Frankston Road. One was coming from Hammond Road, and there's going to be fatalities there. So through you, Madam Mayor, to the relevant officer, can we write this letter ASAP.
Thank you, Councillor Mamedi. Yeah, I've had incidents down there myself, and a lot of confusion because the stoplight or the red traffic light is only for the bus. And people sit there for hours thinking they've got to stop, and they don't realise that that traffic light is only for the bus. And coming down over the bridge, people do speed along there, and it's very dangerous. I agree with you.
So, Madam Mayor, you'll
Yes.
Also, visiting the Noreen Cox Reserve in Dandenong South. When I went there, there was about 200 people in the park, and my God, did I get a lot of complaints. Many mothers were telling me that they need a toilet there. There's no facilities for children to go to the toilet. So I know we've done the toilet strategy, and it wasn't on the Noreen Cox Reserve. I strongly would ask Council Officer to look into that. And also, the playground is not very new. I remember when I first got onto council in 2005, I think we spent a bit of money. We didn't change everything. That's just, can council officers please look into Noreen Cox Reserve? First and foremost, the toilet. Second, the playground equipment.
Yeah, Mr. Keasley, please.
Certainly, we can look at both of those particular issues and report back.
Thank you.
Thank you. Also, the Allen Street Bridge, coming down Dalgety Street, Morwell Avenue, on the intersection of Dalgety Street. There's that T intersection there. Bike riders and people who walking on the track, the Dandenong Creek track, actually have to cross that road to continue the track. The bridge is very high and then it comes very low. I've been getting a few comments that the community would like to have a meeting. People who use that bike track and jogging track very frequently. So through you, Madam Mayor, to the relevant officer, hopefully after the New Year break, if we can have that meeting.
A consulting meeting.
Just with the community, maybe on site as well, if that's possible.
Yep. Mr. Fiddler, please.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Happy to organise that. Councillor Mamedi, if you want to give me the details of some of those people. Or...
If you can organise, I can organise it. And
okay.
I'll be there as well, yeah.
Yeah, we can get a sport and rec team to, as part of the Make Your Move strategy as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Mamedi.
Also, through you, Madam Mayor, I said at the last council meeting, the Dandenong Park looks fantastic. This master plan has been going on for about 10 years. I think it looks really nearly finished, but speaking to some of the other officers, they're telling me that there's still a little bit more to be done. Through you, Madam Mayor, to the relevant officer, can we understand of what's more to happen in that park so I can actually tell the residents? Because I just keep on showing off, it's the best park in Dandenong, best park in the whole city of Greater Dandenong. I love it and the community love it. And just what's next for them?
Mr. Keasley, please.
Certainly, Councillor. I think we're in the, as this one is about to finish, we're in the phase of designing and planning for the next one. So I'll certainly get a list of both what we've done but also what we're planning to do in the coming year.
Thank you, Mr. Keasley. Councillor Mamedi.
Thank you. I really appreciate it, and I'm sure the community just love it, and it's fantastic. Also, one of my favourites, actually, parking meters. Through you, Madam Mayor, I know that while we were contesting the council elections, the council officers made a decision that they'd make free parking meters in Dandenong, and that was going to end on the 31st of December. We haven't had a briefing about that since then. Can the relevant officer just let us know what's next after 31st of December?
Mr. Bosman, please.
Madam Mayor, certainly through yourself, Councillor Mamedi, will come back to council then in January and give you the feedback of the financial impact of those meters being turned off and what the options might be going forward. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Bosman. Councillor Mamedi.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. From me to the CEO, to council directors, to the whole staff, to councillors, families, I'd like to wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and also to the people that might be going away. Maybe they're going to the country or going to a party. Please stay safe. If you're going to drink, please don't drive, and hopefully we'll see everybody together in 2021.
Thank you, Councillor Mamedi. Councillor Garrett.
Madam Mayor, I'll start with my report first. I recently met with members of the Save the Keysborough Uniting Church to progress discussions on the future of the chapel, which is of great historic significance to the people of that area. I was also able to observe the important work of the Mission Liaison Group, the Second Life Pacifica, and the great support they provide to the highlands of Papua New Guinea, Solomons, Tonga and Fiji. I was also privileged to attend the AGM for the Dandenong Neighbourhood Watch and hear of the great, tremendous contribution they do for the community. I also wish to congratulate the organisers of the wonderful Christmas event yesterday that brought together the Keysborough South community in a way that was not possible during COVID. Disturbingly, I had a report from the local medical provider in the area, the Keysborough Medical Centre, that there has been a 60% increase in demand for mental health support in the area. Demand so great, in fact, that the service was unable to meet this need. And this serves as a timely reminder to us that COVID is in fact not over, and the council, as a council, we need to continue to provide the support to residents in the city of Greater Dandenong who have suffered through this difficult year. Finally, I would also like to wish the residents of Keysborough South, the residents of the City of Greater Dandenong, my fellow councillors, council staff, a wonderful festive season and a peaceful 2021. And finally, my question is a question about the use of Twitter by the City of Greater Dandenong. Only 2 tweets have occurred in the last 8 months, and just my question is why we're not adequately using this as an avenue of communication.
Mr.
Yeah,
Judge,
through
please.
Madam Mayor, and as explained previously to Council, Twitter has been, our media and communications basically believe Twitter hasn't been a social media tool that's been not viable for us to use, but we will come back to Council with a report on Twitter about how we can better utilise it moving forward.
Thank you, Mr. Judge. Councillor Garrard, finished? Councillor Forster, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I recently had the pleasure of meeting with the Noble Park Tennis Club, the President and Vice President there, and that was done on Saturday the 5th of December, and just last weekend on the 12th of December I met with the Parkfield Cricket Club President. So my question, Madam Mayor, is in relation to the Noble Park Tennis Club. A number of concerns were raised with me regarding the amazing facility that we do have for our residents. There are 2 pressing issues that I do believe require addressing. First is the state of the drinking water, and I just would like to know from the relevant council officer, what will the council be able to do to address the state of the drinking water? And my second question through you, Madam Mayor, is in relation to the gates to the tennis club. I believe the gates are frequently being tampered with and the fencing is being cut to allow access after hours without paying. So what will the council be able to do to address the matter of safety and the gates being repeatedly broken into? Thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Fiddler, please. Is that you or Mr. Kersley? Sorry, Mr. Kersley.
Thank you, Councillor. Through you, Madam Mayor, with regards to the water issues, I've asked the staff to have a quick look at that matter as to what the issues are and why the water is of lower quality. So we hope to have that information back very soon. With regards to the lock, I would hope that by now, because you asked the question a few days ago now, that that lock would have been resolved and fixed. So we normally put a cover, a shield, which stops the breakage of the lock. So I would be hoping that that's already done. If not, I can check, provide you with information tomorrow.
Thank you, Mr. Peasley. Councillor Forster.
I just too would like to add a happy Christmas and a festive season to my fellow councillors and council staff, but also the residents of Greater Dandenong and specifically for the Yarraman residents.
Thank you. Councillor Formoso, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just wanted to let everybody know that I have been extremely busy attending a lot of the committees that I've signed up for. So they've been very productive. One which was very, very interesting and more important in regards to my question was the Road Safe Southeast AGM that I attended with yourself on the 1st of December, where we elected a new board and committee, and we also discussed some local initiatives that will be taking place next year. So that was very, very informative, and I really did enjoy that. And in regards to that, I actually had 2 residents contact me over the past week in regards to hooning, and more specifically in Whitworth Avenue and Lewis Street, corner of Whitworth and Lewis Street in Springvale, to the point where multiple vehicles have been damaged many, many times at that intersection. And I believe it's right near Minaret College as well. So it's definitely a hazard for parents and students. Another one that I actually went and met with the resident on Saturday, lovely man who's been living in Templewood Avenue, Noble Park North for over 50 years, and said in all of these years that he's been living in the street, he's noticed that hooning has been a huge problem, but more so recently, and he's actually very, very fed up with it. And I would definitely like our council staff and officers to definitely look into that, because strategy needs to be put in place there as soon as possible. But another interesting meeting that I had, which was a little bit more of a happier note, I had a local 14-year-old student contact me, emailed me and wanted to meet with me about some of the empty council land that we have on Hennessy Way and the prospect of building a small playground and planting some trees there. So if the council officers could maybe look into that and see what we could possibly do about arranging that for New Year, if possible. And I also had the pleasure of attending an amazing meeting at Lindale Secondary College on the 10th of December. I met with 6 of the young leaders who are part of the community engagement ambassadors. They were extremely, extremely delightful, very, very intelligent young students who were very engaged in our community and definitely involved in local government. So I was hoping we could maybe arrange for them to come into one of our council meetings in the new year, if we could possibly arrange something like that for them to see how this all works and kind of get a behind the scenes feel. They've got some amazing ideas and some amazing initiatives, and they're going to be really amazing leaders for the future. So that was my experience on the 10th. And I'd also like to wish everyone a very festive season, and in particular everyone in the city of Greater Dandenong, and of course, more importantly, Noble Park North Ward. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor O'Reilly, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of questions. Firstly, now council has done this in the activity centres, I think Springvale and Dandenong, this extended outdoor seating for restaurants.
Yep.
Which would be taking up car park space. So how does the timing work, given that like COVID restrictions are winding back, so that people inside the restaurants don't have the same restrictions, and you're also seeing more activity as far as car parking requirements returning to the activity centres. What's the plan on, when do we say to them, okay, you can't have that additional outdoor seating anymore? So I get a response on that, please, Mayor.
Mr Keasley, please.
Thank you, Councillor, through you, Madam Mayor. That's a very, very complex question. We currently have a number in the Springvale Centre that are actually seeking to occupy car spaces. I'd probably say that it's in the minority. The majority are really seeking more space on footpaths or outside shops next door to them that aren't cafes or restaurants. So we've been able to deal with those quite easily. There is state funding available to the middle of next year for this program, and we would probably see that at that time we will be bringing back a report to council on how the first few months have gone with regards to the uptake of the car spaces, and whether there has been any issues with regards to traders in close proximity seeing that as a problem, and Councillor Lim and myself certainly participated in such a discussion on Friday with some traders in Springvale that perhaps had different views to the trader who wanted more seating available to them. So, look, it is a very complex issue, but what we're saying to people at the moment is if you wish to do it, you can apply. We then go through an assessment program through our transport team of informing neighbouring traders that that's the intention and seeking their feedback. But really, at the end of the day, if the trader believes that occupying between 2 and 4 spaces isn't giving them the return with regards to them being at occupancy, because the availability of seating inside restaurants is now back to almost normal, they may choose themselves to withdraw their need for it. But I think at the moment it's too early to test for that, and we're really would be assessing and having conversations with them probably around late February, March of next year in order to determine the likely impact. But at the end of the day, if they see no need, then they can withdraw them and they return back to car parking. But we've probably only got 2 or 3 examples of that in Springvale at the moment that are seeking to occupy car space.
Councillor O'Reilly.
Thank you, Mayor. Second question, I received a suggestion by a resident via Facebook I thought made sense, and that is Corrigan Road between Princess Highway and Ross Reserve isn't bike friendly. So where does that fit in? And this is a question without notice, I acknowledge. Where does that fit into our bike path? To the relevant director, please, Mayor.
Mr. Keasley, please.
Thank you, Councillor. Through you, Madam Mayor, I'll have to take that one on notice, and we'll see how it fits with regards to the overall strategy of when and if it's appropriate to do line mark.
Thank you, Mr. Keasley. Councillor O'Reilly.
Thank you, Mayor. So, been an incredibly difficult year for COVID for most of us, all of us. Some much more than us, which we acknowledge as a council, and have tried to do as much as we can as far as material aid and other measures with rates and those sorts of things. But I think things are looking up. I think that the council election has brought us some new councillors, new life, open minds, new enthusiasm, and really good energy for this council, which is quite apt because we're going to need it. Next year will still be challenging, but I feel proud to be part of a reinvigorated council, even if I'm now an old timer on council myself. But I wish everybody the best. I acknowledge council staff that all the work that they do to support councillors and officers in what we're trying to achieve, and wish everybody a Merry Christmas. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor O'Reilly. On December 1st, I had a meeting with the Save the Keysborough United Church with Councillor Gerard, and also went to a Road Safety Southeast AGM with Councillor Famoso. On the 2nd of December, 7 event, Rebuilding Australia, the role of manufacturing in creating a stronger nation. Pardon me. And a RAP meeting, working group meeting. On the 3rd of December, a tour of the Springvale Hub and Town Hall. Greater Dandenong City Council Audit and Risk Committee meeting. Councillor induction, Directors overview, corporate services and community services. The 7th of December, a photo shoot down at Clough Street, new 4,830 square metre park, what Councillor Mamedi was talking about before. On Wednesday the 9th of December, Community Safety Advisory Committee meeting. The 10th of December, South East Melbourne meeting at Frankston. A photo shoot for Team 11 and Council Induction Directory Overview, CPDA and DBEMP. Friday the 11th of December, Australia Day Awards 2021 panel meeting and Greater Dandenong Virtual Carols concert. The 14th of December, which is today, implementation matters for CEOs, mayors and councillors, hosted by Local Government Victoria. On behalf of councillors and staff of Greater Dandenong, I would like to wish all our residents and business owners a very, very Merry Christmas and a happy and safe New Year. Thank you. Mr. Benny, please.
Yes, Madam Mayor, there were 11 councillor questions taken on notice at the last meeting. They've all been addressed and are tabled this evening.
Thank you. Item number 7, urgent business. As there's no urgent business, I declare this meeting closed. Thank you very much.